Hi folks, I'm Brad Hibbard. We're here in the Dyno Cell at Race 1, and what we're going to do is we're going to show you how to install a distributor advanced lockout kit into the 602 HEI distributor. It has some other applications, but for today's purposes we're just talking about the 602. It's the same all the time. We have this kit here from Crate Innovations. It has everything in it that you need to lock your advance out in your distributor. Okay, how we're going to start here is by illustrating exactly how things work with the full advance in it, just the way the distributor came from GM, the way most of them have been running all along. When lockout kits are not permitted to be put in the engine, this is what you have to do, what you're looking at. We just want you to see it and understand it. This engine has already been warmed up. The timing has been set at 32 degrees. As you see, we have marked the balancer out. That 2 is actually 32 degrees. Now I want you to take a look up here at our distributor cap. This is a dyno room cap that is cut out to check rotor phasing. You can see how the rotor is lined up with the terminal at the moment. This distributor does have advance in it. You see the rotor is springing back, moving. This is just the way it came from GM. What this does is it's a balance of rotor phase that manufacturers came up with. It's a compromise. There cannot be perfect rotor phasing when we have advance in the distributor. We're going to start this engine and illustrate that to you with the timing light. Alright folks, what we have here is a warmed up 602 engine with a factory installed distributor. There's been no modifications made to this distributor. It has the factory advance weights in it. What we're going to illustrate is the compromise of rotor phase when that situation is in place, and also how you have to elevate the RPM to set your timing. What we're going to do first is we're going to go to the timing mark. You can notice right now that at idle we're about 10 or 12 degrees of timing. We're going to, with RPM, we're going to come up to the 32 degrees. The 2 is 32. Here we go. As you see, we came up to 32 degrees at 4,000 RPM, factory specs. Now we're going to go to the rotor and we're going to show you what's going on there. What you can see is the rotor is already past the terminal. Keep in mind the rotor is turning clockwise. That number 1 terminal is already past it. As we increase RPM and come into the advance, it's going to even get more out of rotor phase. It's the best they could do to keep the rotor and the cap in the best condition they could all the time. Now we're going to go to the lockout kit, install it piece by piece, and show you how we'll fix that rotor phase. Alright folks, this is the kit that we are going to actually install into the distributor. It's made up of 2 components. It has a mechanical lockout bar that's going to go on top. Also has 2 stainless steel clips that hold that bar in place. The bar is made of 6061 aluminum, so that it has the best wear characteristics. The stainless clips are an upgrade from the factory. Also below that you'll see the vacuum advance lockout. This is needed to correct the rotor phase. We're going to install these pieces one at a time to show you how the rotor phasing does change and that you need to install both components into your distributor. We're going to begin by removing the distributor cap and the rotor. Alright folks, here's what we're going to do now is we're going to illustrate installing the lockout bar. And I'm only going to install a lockout bar. I'm not going to install the vacuum advance. This will help us show you why they both need to go. We're going to look at rotor phasing with the engine running. Anyway, here's how we start. We're going to pull distributor cap and rotor. So we're going to disconnect all of our wiring there. Primary wiring. I'm going to pull the distributor cap off, lay it back out of the way. Now we're going to pull the rotor off. Next, we're going to strip the springs These are the advanced springs. You see how this works? With RPM, it's throwing those weights out, and that's all that stuff flopping around in there. It's not always a good thing for a race motor. I removed the springs, the weights. Now we're going to remove these small little E-clips. They're holding the center mechanism. That's a cam mechanism that throws the weights out. They like to fly, so keep your hands on them. Both E-clips are removed. Now we can remove this center mechanism. It's on there a little snug, but it ain't terrible. You just kind of pry up on it evenly, get it to come out of there. There it is. And now the lockout bar. I talked earlier about the red dot because there's a top and a bottom to this. You actually can't install it wrong, and I'll show you here. Nothing will line up. There's no possible way to get that in there. Well, I won't say no possible way, but we need to get everything, all the pins lined up, and you see it won't happen like that. It just won't happen. Red dot up, and just slide it down evenly. It's snug. It's intended to be snug. We don't want it moving around. Get it started and just work it down till it seats. There it is. Now we're going to install our stainless steel clips. These are a little tougher to get on than the factory ones. That's on purpose. We don't want that stuff falling out. There you are. Lockout bar is installed. Now, on your installation, you're going to, at the same time, remove the vacuum pod. We're not going to do that right now. I'm going to just install the bar, and we're going to put this back together right now and illustrate how the rotor phasing is off quite a bit. All right, now we have completely installed the lockout bar only in the distributor. We put it all back together, cap and rotor. I've aligned the timing marks on the balancer. Now, as you see up here at the rotor, you see how far behind the terminal the rotor is. At the moment, this engine will barely even start because the timing's so late. We're going to need to get lined up just to try and start it. Once we start it, then we will set our timing with our timing light, and then we're going to illustrate rotor phasing to you. We have installed the lockout bar. We've got this engine back running again. We've got a little bit of heat back in it. We're going to go with our timing light to the balancer and get 32 degrees set. One thing I want to remind you is even with a lockout distributor, you must elevate your RPM. What's going to happen is the timing is going to retard. What that is it takes the slack out of the timing chain. So here we go. We're going to go to the balancer. See, right now, we're still retarded a little bit. We're going to get that set. Now I'm showing 32 degrees, but I'm at low RPM. Let me raise the RPM. Notice how it retards. We're going to raise it a little bit more. Now we're going to raise the RPM. We are set at 32 degrees. Now we're going to illustrate the balancer, the rotor phasing on the distributor. All right, this is illustrating how far off the rotor phase is without the vacuum advance plate in place. All right, folks, now what we're going to do is we're going to remove the vacuum pod and install the vacuum lockout plate. These two screws here will be removed. Something that I personally like to do is disconnect the pickup coil from the module. It's just a simple plug. And the reason that I like to do that is the pickup coil is going to slide over here to the side, and I don't want to stretch them wires. So it's not something you have to do. It just makes it a little easier in my opinion. Got a couple washers you want to keep track of here. We're going to be reusing these screws, so don't lose them.
screws are removed. Now we're going to slide this over here. See why I disconnected? So we're not stretching those wires at all. Now we're going to just pop that vacuum pod out of there. Just give her a turn and out she comes. Now we install the vacuum lockout plate. Simply get it up underneath. There we go. Slide her in place. Reinstall your 2 screws. Get them both started before you tighten either one. Screws are tight. Now if you took my initial advice and unplugged your pickup coil, now's the time to plug it back in. Don't forget. Everything's good there. After your lockout plate is installed for the vacuum advance, you'll notice you have a hole, a cavity right here. It's best to fill that with silicone. It keeps the dirt and debris out of there, especially on dirt racetracks. Okay, we've completed both components of the lockout kit. We put it back together. We've aligned our timing mark on our balancer, and we've aligned our rotor with our number 1 terminal on the distributor cap. We're going to start this up. Verify timing on both locations. Alright, we have installed both components of the lockout kit. We have the engine back running. We need to reset the timing on the balancer, and then we'll come up to the distributor and illustrate what proper rotor phasing is. First step, set timing on the balancer. As said before, anytime with a locked distributor, you have to elevate the RPM. You notice we're at 4 degrees, which is 34. We're going to elevate the RPM. It's actually coming back a little bit too much. A little more in it. We want 32. I'm happy with that. We're at 32 degrees. Now we're going to go to the distributor. Notice the rotor phasing. The rotor is directly in line with the number 1 terminal on the distributor cap. Okay, now I have to show you one bad situation with a locked out distributor on a 602 engine. Being a 602 is a little harder to turn over. It doesn't have a roller camshaft or a roller rocker arms on it. The drag in the engine itself makes it a little tougher to start, especially with a locked out distributor. What I'm going to illustrate right now is I'm going to turn the ignition on, and I'm going to try and start the engine. Notice how the engine is going to turn over slow. It really doesn't even want to start. It might not start. What we're going to do is we're going to hit the starter, and then we're going to hit the ignition while it's rolling. That is the way you want to start your engine, especially when it's hot. I hope this has been a little bit helpful to you, understanding why we worry about rotor phasing, what we look at, installing the lockout kit into the HEI distributor for the 602s, how to start the engine when it's hot. If you have any questions, you have any problems, you're welcome to call me anytime. All my contact information is on our website, email, phone, everything. And check the website. It's www.race-1.com. Have a good day.